I don't know, it kind of set something off in me, and I felt very defensive and
Yeah.
protective of her space and of her body, and just like I really wanted her to have a redemptive experience. And C-section was brought up multiple times. The size of her baby was brought up multiple times. Forceps and different things like that were brought up. And I was just like, no,
Wow.
if she doesn't consent to these things, then that's not what's going to happen.
Welcome back to the Pain Free Birth podcast. Today I'm interviewing one of my favorite people, Kendall Pattillo. This is a rock star doula who was a part of the first round of the Doula Mastermind. And she has some of the best birth stories and experiences just recently launching her career as a doula. She's had 5 births now. And I had to invite her on the podcast to share with you just some of her experiences and her takeaways supporting women in many different kinds of births, from VBACs to medicated to home births, birth center births, hospital births. She's a load of experience for a new doula. And I'm so proud of all the work she's done. And she is an incredible mom of 2, a wife, and a follower of Christ. And she is located in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Her Instagram, for those of you who want to check her out, are Ever Eden Doula Services. Welcome to the show, Kendall.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's great to be here. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about my experiences so far after the Doula Mastermind class.
Oh, it's great to have you. So, Kendall, what made you want to be a doula in the first place?
Yeah, so I had several friends reach out asking for birth support back when I wasn't even considering this at all as a career. And after a few of those and 2 births of my own, I realized that this is something that I felt really called to do on like a spiritual level, and it really fit with my personality. And really shortly after I decided this, you opened up your course, and I knew that it was the perfect opportunity, that God was just opening this door. And it's just been so special getting to be welcomed into people's very vulnerable and raw spaces, and getting to hear them say that this was their new favorite birth is the most rewarding thing in the world. And really just highlighting the mom as the hero, and just me being in the background is what's really important to me.
What's your favorite part about being a doula?
My favorite part is getting to answer questions in the prenatal stage, being supportive during the birth stage, and then also getting to provide resources to kind of help problem solve during the postpartum period. I really love taking away stress from people, and I feel like pregnancy, birth, and postpartum can be a really isolating time of a lot of anxieties and unknowns. And I feel like for my own self, for especially after my first, I felt very much like I didn't know where to look for help. And I think that really prevented me from getting the help that I needed with breastfeeding and, you know, chiropractic care for my son and things like that, that I think would have just made a huge difference. So getting to provide that for a mom, that's 1 or 2 days postpartum, it feels so good.
It does. How has it impacted you to be able to have such an impact on women's birth experiences and families that are just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, it really is the beginning of their family. It's the beginning of this new chapter. And I feel like it's this long 9, 10 month period of waiting. And it's just all this anticipation and buildup that, okay, it's finally here and I'm in labor and all of this stuff is happening. And I mean, you can only be so prepared, but if you're alongside people that you trust, that's when you're going to have the best experience.
Yeah, you mentioned loving the variety, which I found so interesting because many doulas will make decisions and say like, oh, I only take home birth or I only do this kind of birth, which I totally
Mhm.
understand. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of trauma that happens in hospital births. But I love that you're like, no, I love the variety. Like, what have been some of the most impactful births that you've been able to support?
Yeah, so 2 of my first clients were both attempting VBACs, and so they didn't feel comfortable doing that in a home birth setting. I think that just depends mom to mom, but they really wanted to have a more natural birth that had less interventions in a hospital setting. So I feel like that's where a lot of my births have ended up is being unmedicated or very low intervention births in the hospital, or also birth center so far. And I hope to expand that variety going forward. But it's just special to personalize my care and my services based on like the mom's personality, based on what she's communicated to me that she wants during her prenatal appointments. I actually limit my business to 2 clients a month so that I can just kind of go, that number allows me to go above and beyond for each mom, and I don't feel overwhelmed by it. But I think that really does start with booking the right number of people per month.
Yeah. That's so good to know your limitations as a doula and
Mm-hmm.
not overdo it. Tell us about your first birth experience as a doula and what you learned from that.
Yeah, so my very first birth was probably my most intense birth experience so far as a doula. The mom that I was supporting was going for a VBAC, as I mentioned earlier, and she had actually fired her provider around 36 weeks because they didn't really align, which that's another side note. Like, it's never too late to pick somebody else. But I do think it's important to look at the place of birth that you chose and what their policies are, because this hospital's policy was just whoever's on call is going to be delivering your baby. And so some hospitals actually will call your OB and you get the same person that you're expecting to get, but that wasn't the case for this hospital. So I think that would have been great if she had known that in advance, but he actually happened to be the one on call when she went into labor. So that was
Oh,
a really challenging social situation to be in. As the doula, I knew it immediately when we walked in. And she actually hired me pretty far into her pregnancy, around like 37 weeks. So we didn't get a lot of time to do prenatals. We didn't get a lot of time to connect with each other. But I do think it was just a God thing in the first place that we got to be paired together. And she did end up getting the VBAC that she wanted. Her recovery was night and day from her first, but
how
the
did you handle
provider,
that as a
not my
doula?
favorite.
As a doula in her first birth, nonetheless, how did you help your client advocate and how did that go down? Because that is immediately like cortisol goes through the roof when you walk in
Yeah.
and the provider you fired is the one attending your birth. Like, talk about not feeling safe.
Yeah, and not only that, he was the one who did her first C-section. So I think there was
Mm,
just a lot wrapped up in there.
yeah.
But she did an amazing job really centering herself, calming herself, focusing on her husband, praying. She was incredible. And she walked in, I think, around at a 6, as when they checked her. I just tried to create a physical barrier in some moments where I could tell she felt uncomfortable. I would be closer to the door and I would kind of meet that person before he got to all the way to her bedside, because she really just needed space. She was coping so well, unmedicated at that point. And I noticed that he would only ask her questions when she was at her peak contraction, and things like that just felt a little bit manipulative, in my opinion. And that was hard to watch. It was hard to see. At the same time, I knew that in that moment, it was my job to kind of take that and put it on myself rather than letting her feel the stress of it. And so I just kept pushing her husband over there and just being like, keep talking to her, keep doing what you're doing, keep holding each other's hands. Um, and yeah, I think that was how I felt my role develop in that setting, was just to make sure that there was the utmost communication. The doctor would come in and say, "Oh, we're going to do this," or "We're going to do this." And I'd say, "Oh, I don't think you've talked with her about that yet," or "I don't think she's consented to this." And she told me after the fact that she really appreciated that and that she felt safe, because there was so much more communication. And she knew
Yeah.
that like her husband didn't have to be a part of every single conversation, because he was able to be with her and I was able to help communicate her wishes while she was really in labor land. Like, she was not able to
As
have
she should
conversations like
be.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's where
exactly.
we want her. So did
So
you feel confident to advocate for her in
yeah.
that situation?
I did, but I think it's because I have like a little fiery side and not, it's only come out really at this birth, but I just had the feeling like he was trying to kind of bulldoze the experience. And I was like, nope, like
Not on
I'm
my
here.
watch.
And yeah, like I don't know, it kind of set something off in me. And I felt very defensive and
Yeah.
protective of her space and of her body. And just like, I really wanted her to have a redemptive experience. And C-section was brought up multiple times. The size of her baby was brought up multiple times. Forceps and different things like that were brought up. And I was just like, no,
Wow.
if she doesn't consent to these things, then that's not what's going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an intense first birth, but
Especially as your
really,
first.
yeah, I was like driving home, like, what just happened? This is crazy.
That's
Um,
amazing that you were able, that you felt confident to speak up for her, because it's so easy, I think,
yeah,
for as especially new doulas to kind of shrink into the background, especially when there's medical professionals there that are trying to, manage a labor and dictate, here's what we need to do, XYZ. But I love the fact that you were like allowed that fire and that protective instinct, because that truly is like part of doula work is we're there as patient advocates. We're there as the mama bear, the fiery, like that sister that's going to protect her space. And you did that so beautifully. I was just,
thank you.
it was such a beautiful moment to hear. And I know that that meant the world, because she would not have been able to sink in and relax into her labor if she had to be the one defending herself and protecting herself.
Mhm. Well, and I think just because she had already told him, "You're not welcome in my birth space," and then he's, busting in the door, and I don't
Wow.
know, there was just a real lack of bedside manner, and
Yeah.
I think that's just partially why I really prefer female providers in general, just because I think there's like an additional level of empathy there, and just
Hopefully.
kind of,
I've seen some
yeah,
that are
sure,
no, no,
but I
not even
mean,
close. But yeah, I think
yeah,
women hopefully can relate better. That's so, it is
mhm.
so sad when you see that. Was there no other provider available? Because if she
No, I
did, she tell
asked.
him, like, I don't
I
want
did
you?
ask.
Really?
Yeah, there was no one else available. And I think those are the kind of questions that I would never have known to ask as a first or even second time mom. And it's important to ask your provider, okay, what's going to happen if there's C-sections going on during my birth? What's going to happen if, your whole unit is full? Like, who's going to be delivering my baby? Is it you, or who else would it possibly be? And what is what are the chances of it being this person I already fired,
Right. And typically you can fire your doctor even in labor. And most
Right.
hospitals have a hospitalist OBGYN that's there on call all the time. So if you do need to fire your doctor, don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, they should provide a hospitalist OB to be able to step in. And you can't always choose who you get. But if there is a lot of feeling uncomfortable and unsafe in conversation, you don't feel protected or like your wishes and needs are being honored, that is an option.
Mhm.
A lot of parents don't know that they have. But what a way
Right.
to navigate this. I mean, it's sad that they weren't able to accommodate her request to not have this particular doctor, but thank God you were there to help her navigate that situation, because that could have gone much differently.
Yes. Well, and it really highlighted for me and set the tone going forward that like a doula is a servant and a shield. So like I will be the emotional shield, I will be a physical shield if need be. I will be the one absorbing the impact of
Mm,
whatever's going on and kind of I don't know, softening the blow of course there's things that happen that are unpredictable and some people need a transfer to a hospital and that's really not what they're wanting or whatever happens during birth, but somebody there who can kind of soften the news and present it to the mom in the way that they know the mom will receive it best, I think is so helpful
yeah.
in not spiking adrenaline during
Yeah.
labor.
Exactly, and you have to be
Mhm.
healed and regulated
Yeah.
enough in order to do that for the mother you're serving, because if you walked in there and you were triggered and you had your own trauma come up and you were getting, upset at the doctor, like, you wouldn't have been able to put her needs first. And so doulas have to learn that self-regulation and that self-healing and releasing their own trauma first, And that happens sometimes in the process of doula work, in the process of motherhood and having babies and working through our own baggage. But the fact that you were able to stand in the gap for her as a pure like shield, like this is my only concern is mom's experience. I'm not here to make my voice heard. I'm not here to resolve my own triggers coming up. I'm not here to get in a combative fight with this doctor. I'm just here to like diffuse the situation and
Yes.
protect her. And I think that you did that masterfully.
Thank you. Yeah, when I did ask if there was another doctor available, I asked like in the hallway to the charge nurse. Like it was
Yeah.
really discreet. Like I wrote it all down on my phone so that I could send it to her later, but she was like, "I didn't even know you did that," So like that. I was like, "Perfect. That's how it's
Yeah,
supposed to
little
be."
tricks. I always make notes. I love that you did that because I love reviewing that with clients after their birth because they don't even know what's going on outside of their like
Yeah.
immediate vicinity. Because usually mom is in labor land. Like she might not even open her eyes for hours at a time. So like all these things happening around her, she's oblivious to. And
Yeah.
how cool that you got to debrief that with her. How did she feel after this birth?
She felt amazing. I mean, she was like, "This is everything I ever wanted." She did say, like, obviously that wasn't her first choice for her doctor. And I could tell, like, bummed about that and not impressed with his bedside manner. But she was like, "I just loved being able to be present with my husband, focus on him." I was running around, like, getting things so that they could be just, like, face to face, the whole time. And I think just being close with your spouse when you're kind of in the thick of labor is really helpful.
Yeah.
When there's chaos going on around you and you're not able to have like as peaceful of a space.
Yeah. That's amazing. And that's something I think that doulas are so good at providing is allowing the couple to actually bond and be present with each other when dad doesn't have to shoulder the weight of taking care of everything or communicating with everyone. And the fact that you were able to do that is beautiful because some mothers or fathers get intimidated by a doula and they think, well, the doula is going to replace the dad. What would you say to that?
Yeah, every single dad that I've worked with has told me it took so much pressure off. But at first they were really intimidated. So like they were
Mm.
hesitant or intimidated at first, not knowing if they wanted to welcome another person into the space, which I
Yeah.
totally get that concern. But they were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't have to worry about the birth at all. I just got to be present with my wife, which I'm already good at, and like it allows
Yes.
them to use their natural giftings of being a good husband or whatever and nurturing their wife and all the parts that they're probably internally afraid of, the advocacy portion or trying to interpret terminology or whatever that's going on. They don't have to worry about
Yeah,
that,
they
you
don't have to
know?
be the birth expert. They
Mm-hmm.
just need to show up for their
Yeah.
wife and they know how to do that. I love how you put that. That's such a good
Thank
reassurance
you.
for husbands.
Yes. But
I
they're always hesitant. I feel like that's a common thing is like the mom's like, "I know I want to doula," and the dad's like, "Why? Really? I don't know." And
Am
I
I
think
not good
they
enough?
feel
Yeah, there's like a
yeah,
little bit
yes.
of a like, what
Mhm. Like,
a
they don't wanna be replaced,
Yeah.
but really they're just being enhanced.
Yes. I always tell the dads I work with, I'm here to make you look like a rock star. Like you're gonna be your wife's hero.
Yes,
That's
yes.
my goal.
And, like, I had one dad who really just was like, "I don't like doing counter pressure." It was the mom's 4th baby, and he was like, I don't like it. She doesn't ever really like it that much when I do it." And I was like, "Okay, just like be up by her face and I'll do the counter pressure and then she gets to feel good and then just look at you." Like it's perfect.
You get to receive all those
Yeah.
oxytocin bonding hormones.
I'm just here in the back.
Love it. That's so great. Yeah. Dads, I find often are like the biggest doula cheerleaders after they experience what true doula
Yes.
care feels like. Have you experienced that yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. Like I feel like I get most of the praise from the dad afterwards.
Yeah.
They're like, "Man, okay, so next time, blah blah, like
And
what do you
then they're
think?"
telling all their dad friends, like, you need to hire a doula. They're awesome.
Yes, I feel like I've gotten more
I hope
referrals
there's
from
some
dads than even from the moms.
yeah, right? I hope there's lots of dads that listen to this. Ladies, like, send this to your husband if you want a doula. Because truly, we make their job so much
Yeah.
easier and they will get to be your hero.
And I think as a future doula, something I did was put on my website some testimonials, and I have like a mom's perspective and a dad's perspective. And I think that's really helpful for prospective clients to see, okay, like here's, just the different perspectives. So for all the upcoming masterclass doulas, that could be something neat that they could put on their website.
Yeah, for any doula, that's a great idea to like
Hmm.
have to clip out moms and dads' perspectives. I've never thought of that, but what a great idea. What have been some of the biggest struggles you've experienced as a doula?
Yeah, so actually, my most recent birth I was a part of, this mom was like a birthing rock star. Like, she has had three unmedicated births. This was her third, and then this was her fourth delivery. So she just knows exactly what's going on. She knows what's going on with her body. She knows when it's time to do what and how to move. And I kind of had a little bit of imposter syndrome just because I was like, I'm in this corner of this birthing center. It's very dark. And I don't want them to think, why is she here? Why did we even agree to this? And that was kind of in the back of my head at one point, and I was just praying against that thought because I knew it wasn't the truth. And I knew that my presence was calming to her, and I was able to go out in the hallway and talk with the midwife and the nurse on call at the birth center and just kind of communicate the setting that she wanted. So I was able to really be behind the scenes advocating for her experience, and she didn't know, she was in there doing her thing. And so being able as a doula to read what the mom needs in the moment, even if that's not making you look good, for example, I feel like that is something I learned the most through that birth. And it was kind of challenging for me, to not feel like I needed to be doing something to fix something that was hard to just sit.
Especially after that first birth you had where you're doing all the things to advocate. And now you're like,
Yeah.
well, this is going so well. I'm not real. What do
Mhm.
I do?
Right. Or like the birth before this, really like very relaxing, basically me doing nothing birth. Um, I was, doing hip squeezes every few minutes. I was helping her, in the shower, all over the place. Like, it was very
Yeah.
hands-on.
There's some where
You know,
you pull out all your tools and you're very physically
yes.
hands-on. And the next day,
There was nothing left in my bag.
all the tools were used.
Yes, like the TENS unit, rebozo, the shower, the knee pads,
The knee
everything.
pads. My
Yeah, those
favorite,
have been everything.
right? I told all the doulas in the Mastermind, you guys go to the dollar store and get these like $1 knee pads, little foam, like cheapo things. They are the most used tool in my doula bag, like bar none. Like I
Yes,
use them for me when I'm
absolutely.
supporting mom. I put them on mom's feet or knees if she's on hands and knees or needs a soft cushion. It's the best tool ever. So you
Yes,
used everything in your doula bag.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, I had them bring in a stool, so she was kinda doing, like, curb walking on both sides of the stool, and I was like, "Okay,
I've
Jen."
never even thought of that. Like you
Oh,
used a
yeah.
birth stool for her to curb walk on?
Mhm, and it
Girl,
worked like a charm. The baby,
that
she was
is
like, "It just descended into
genius.
my pelvis," and I was like, "There, okay."
It's that
Go, go.
asymmetrical hip movement that's going to get that baby to shift right down. I never thought of using a birth stool for that. That's genius,
Yeah, and
Kendall.
they have birth stools, most people would have it in a home birth, and then they
Yeah.
have it in a hospital and birth centers too. So
Yep.
no matter where you're delivering, I've been able to use it in most of the settings.
That's
Um,
amazing. Yeah, some hospitals, not
yeah.
all of them, but some of them have a lot of tools that
Mhm.
families might not even realize are available to them, like the birth stool, a peanut
The
ball.
peanut.
I always
Mhm.
ask for like a birth ball, a peanut ball, like right within the first hour that I'm there. Like, can we just get this stuff like lined up and extra towels?
Yeah. Yes, extra towels, and then also just the shower, I think is really underutilized in the hospital. Every time my clients get in the shower, the nurses are kinda like, "Oh, usually people don't get in the shower," and, just because your room doesn't have a tub the way that, like, a home birth or birth center would, but, like, the shower is powerful, and, like, you can have so much more movement in the shower than you can in the tub.
Yeah, you can
I think
even
both
bring
are
the
great,
birth
but
stool or the birth ball in
yeah.
the shower
Yeah.
with you, like level it up.
Yes, I've had people do the birth ball or like the knee pads in the shower has been really helpful
Yeah,
too.
I'm telling you, those knee pads, like, they're the best.
Yeah. So that's been really fun, and I love, like, thinking strategically about birth and just trying to, like, puzzle piece every little different situation, like the birth stool thing, for example, and,
Right, that's
man, the
so
baby is not just like, I can tell they're not putting pressure on her cervix, so, like, let's just do a little something, and then if it doesn't change it, that's okay, but we did, like, the shake the apple tree rebozo move, and then I was like, "Just give me 10 on the birth stool," and she did 1, and she was like, "It's working." I was like, "Okay, 9 more, let's go."
So great. So
So it was
great.
kinda weird though, like, going from that birth to then feeling, like, completely unneeded, and oh, and then I used the TENS unit too a lot in the last birth before this one, so I think everyone looks different, and I think that's the benefit of newer doulas is that you're able to really accommodate each mom and like zone in on each individual experience because you don't have a whole lot of experiences other than that. But I think as I do more births, it's getting harder to not do like a formula or, like just keep that
Mm,
fresh mindset is something I really want to carry into my future.
yeah, that's so beautiful. And I think what you're speaking to is something that is really universal among all doulas. I remember feeling the same way as a new doula and feeling like I'm not doing anything. I should be doing more. And I think it comes from this performance mentality, this people pleasing thing we have as women that we kind of are just innately kind of walking through life and society. We feel like we have to almost earn our keep or prove our worth, or like they're paying me all this money and I'm not doing enough, or I'm around
Mhm.
in this hospital environment with all these nurses and doctors, they're all working so busy and charting and da, da, da. Mom's just chilling and there's nothing to fix. And so sometimes that mentality can trip me up as a doula. And I think this is very common for doulas to get into this mindset of like, what do I need to do? What do I need to fix? And sometimes birth doesn't need to be fixed. You don't need to do anything. And in fact, the energy of what do I need to do is actually counterproductive, because what mom really needs is for you to keep her peace. And sometimes the best thing we can do is simply bring our presence. And I think but that's so counterintuitive when we just came off a birth where we did everything, and
Yes.
we're like in that mode of like, how do I fix it? And sometimes there's just nothing to fix. It's just your presence and your support and your undivided attention is exactly what mom needs. And when she can feel your confidence in her, the anxiety goes down. And that
Mhm.
presence is valuable without us having to do anything, just us being there. And but it's taken me so long to learn that, because I've battled those same thoughts of like, am I doing it right? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing something to help this baby rotate and turn? Is it going fast enough? Is it slow enough? What tools am I forgetting? And I think that that's just
Yes.
something, yeah, that we always want to be better. We always want to grow as doulas. That's a huge value of mine, is like I learn something from every client I serve. Like I sit at her
Oh,
feet
absolutely.
and I just learn from her. Like, oh, this woman did this crazy thing with her breath or her vocalizations. That was so cool. Like I just learn. And then we also have to curb that instinct to want to do and prove ourselves.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. And I think also that need to please really
Mm,
presents differently in different births. And
yeah.
just knowing that there is a shift in every birth where there's a rise in intensity. And if they don't need you as much in early labor or active labor or whatever, it's okay. And like they might need you more for that shift. And knowing that you'll be there for the shift might be the piece that is like keeping them where they're at, you know?
Yeah. And if they can stay in that zone, a lot of times when that transition does come and that shift happens, they can ride those waves a lot smoother than if they're alert and trying to get in that doer energy, with us.
Well, and another little trick is I'll have some moms bring earphones to the hospital, especially if they're in a hospital setting, because they can literally just tune out all the noise.
Yeah.
I, of course, turn down all the monitors and beeping and everything for my clients, but nurses will redirect their questions to the dad usually in those settings,
Mm.
or even sometimes to me. And the mom can just close her eyes
I
and
love
listen to her
that. Like,
music.
get some
And
nice big headphones so they don't interrupt
yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
great
And that's
technique.
worked really well. So I think a lot of my clients so far have been moms who want really low intervention births in a hospital setting. So trying to navigate that and figure out what that looks like, and also knowing which providers support that is really helpful. Because there are so many midwives, especially who do deliver in hospital, if that's something that, so I mean, everything's different for everybody. You know, you
Yep.
might have a medical reason, or you might have an insurance reason, or whatever. But
No, but
I
you're
think
right. Not
that's,
everybody knows
yeah.
that midwives,
Mhm.
there are lots of midwives who deliver in hospitals. Now, you do have to
Mhm.
screen them because they might not align with your
Yes.
values. Just because they have a midwife label, it doesn't mean they practice true midwifery care, or the midwifery model of care, I should say. But it can be a great option for women who, for whatever reason, can't birth in a hospital. That's so true.
Yeah. Like all of my clients have like eaten during their births, and like just things like that where I feel like it's not a typical hospital experience.
Yeah.
It's been really neat to see. So that's been encouraging to me. I'm pregnant and in my second trimester and about to have my third baby. So it's really, I didn't ask a lot of the questions that were important for my first two births. That's partially why I wanted to become a doula in the first place, is because mine didn't really feel like my dream scenario. And, it forces you to ask questions after the fact. And just like not feeling very supported was my main takeaway from both of my births. So for this third one, I feel really excited, and your course and going through it as a doula has really helped me ask a lot more of the right questions for myself as my for my next birth. So I'm really excited for this
Yeah.
next experience.
Oh, I love that. It reminds me of this quote that Penny Simpkins says, if you don't know your options, you don't have any. And
Um,
intentional birth, these ladies were guest speakers in the mastermind. They talk about the secret menu that hospitals have. And most women have no idea that that there are even these options that you can eat and drink, that you can get a rebozo or like a birth ball. I mean, all the things you're mentioning are like, I hope there are ladies listening to this. Like, I hope you are taking notes right now, because I feel like Kendall just dropped like at least a good dozen like tips for like, especially hospital births, that you might not even realize you can do this. Like, another one I was thinking of when you mentioned the midwives was, you can call ahead and request a nurse. Like, before you go into the hospital, you can ask for a nurse that's experienced in supporting physiological birth. So that way,
mhm.
like, you're going to get someone that was handpicked and comfortable with natural birth, not someone that's like freaked out that you want to do hands and knees on the bed, or, you know, whatever crazy positions you might pull out in labor. But you have a nurse that's going to be supportive of that too. And having the right team and advocating with your team is so important, and your doula is part of your team that helps you do that. What has been your biggest takeaway from the doula mastermind training?
Yeah, so my favorite part of the doula mastermind training was learning about physiological birth from a fellow believer with women who were all over the world desiring to be servant hearted doulas. That was something I was not expecting. The diversity of the group, that was so special to get to be a part of.
Mm.
Um, and like it kind of made me emotional on multiple classes, just seeing so many faces from all over the world, literally. And they're just trying to help women have better birth experiences wherever they are. And we got to learn about different cultural experiences and the different norms of birth, in Germany and Israel and all kinds of places. And, Canada, I don't know, it was just wild. So that was something really special. And then, personally, I am not much of a follow througher. So, your course, I was so pleasantly surprised with the way that it kind of pushes you and forces you to, nope, you're finishing your website, or you're finishing signing up for all your social media accounts, and buying your domain is a really helpful thing. And I mean, you can take it where you want to, and it forces you to reach as high as you can if that's really what you want, and it prepares you to be able to do that by the end of the course if you're really following it week to week. And that is really not a personal strength of mine. So the fact that your course was able to help me complete those things within the timely manner, honestly, is really impressive. So thank you for that.
That means a lot.
I have
I
like a
too
hobbies.
am.
Yeah.
I too am bad at follow through, so I relate completely. And you were one of the
Yeah,
first
like I
to
have a whole
certify.
hobbies graveyard. Like I
Yeah.
have a whole list of things I have not completed. But this, I really believe that like if you allow God to use you, and if you're in the right place, it's going to happen. The doors will be opened, the clients will come, and the certification and all of that is not needed, but it's been so helpful. And I'm so glad that I got it. And I think it really helps my clients have more confidence in what they are signing up for when they choose me, because I am prepared to help them in a variety of settings, and whether they choose to go medicated or unmedicated, like I have seen it all. So I can help them no matter what their ideal looks like. And so I have them all do an exercise that we did in the Doula Mastermind course where we drew our ideal birth plan and really like our ideal birth setting. So I incorporated that into my prenatal meetings with my clients, and it's been so much fun to talk about what that looks like. And I'm like, okay, are you in the bath? Are you eating a sandwich? Do you have twinkle lights all around you? Like, what does this look like for you? And
Yeah. And how
getting to
can we
kind of walk.
create that environment even in a
Yes.
hospital if that's where you're
Yeah,
birthing? I love that. It's
absolutely.
my favorite exercise because it really helps women just like get in touch with their own desires. Because sometimes we don't even give
Mhm.
ourselves permission to really dream about the birth we want.
Yes. Or it feels wrong to dream because all you should want is a healthy baby is such a
Yes.
common phrase. And it's like, no, you can still be happy with, things that go wrong, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't want things to go right. And you shouldn't dream of what your ideal
Yeah.
looks like.
Or there's so much fear there from other birth stories you've heard or your previous birth experiences that there's no room to dream because the fear
Mhm.
is so big. And then those exercises that we practice in the mastermind really help kind of crack women open and face those fears and acknowledge their desires and really give their desires the front seat. Like once those
Yeah.
fears take the back seat and we can release them, the desires come forth. And then we start to see those sit in the driver and actually move us towards the birth we really want in our hearts.
Absolutely. And that was probably my other favorite thing about your course was doing the fear release exercise. I feel like so many of us were here to serve other women, but really you served us through that
Mm,
practice and through your own skill set and giftings. And so that was really neat to get to witness and be a part of. And I think that's really essential if you're wanting to be a doula, releasing any past traumas from your own experiences or your mom's experiences or your sister or best friend's experiences.
yeah.
Like people love to talk about really, really hard birth stories. And I feel like that's all you see on TV too. And so fear has no place in a good birth room,
Yeah.
and that starts with the doula even before the mom. Like if you're afraid, you're not going to be able to be a calming presence. So
Yes.
um, of course, scary things can happen, but that doesn't mean that's different from being afraid and fearful.
Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely we work through our own baggage as doulas. We all as
Mm.
women carry baggage, and so that is a big part of the mastermind is working through our baggage, our biases, our beliefs about birth, our beliefs about ourselves and how we show up and serve and about birth and motherhood. Like all of these things create who we show up to be as doulas in that birth room and how we can serve our clients. And the more we can release those fears ourselves, the more valuable, the more space we can hold for the women we're serving.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. So well
You
said.
mentioned birth being like a hobby, and I just want to touch on that. I thought that was so interesting because I think so many doulas have this mentality that like, oh, birth shouldn't be a business. It should just be like something you do to serve women. And I really believe that like doula work is a business. Like whether you call it that or not,
Mhm.
you're hopefully charging money for your services. Now, if you choose to just do it like pro bono, that's your choice, but it's probably not sustainable long term for you and your family unless, like, I don't know, you have some other means of support, and this is just how you give back to women, like, no judgment. But I think a lot of doulas have this mentality that, like, well, you can't actually like charge for services, or you can't have it's more of a hobby. And a big part of my heart in creating the Doula Mastermind was to allow doulas not just to get a certification, because the certification's great, but like you said, it's not necessary. There's no state regulation or government regulation that says, hey, in order for you to sit and support a woman in labor, you need a piece of paper. Like that, there's no law that
Right.
says that. But the goal is like, I want you to leave after these 3 months or 4 months with the confidence to support a woman and the confidence to charge a living wage and charge for your time and have services, have professional like assets, like a website, a social media presence, business cards if you want them, a contract that's clear so that it creates safety and a container for women that know what they're getting, that know that like
Mhm.
in coming into this relationship, I'm it this is a professional, and it's also someone that I can take my guard down with. And I know and I can rely on them to be a woman of their word, that they're in integrity, and that it's not just a hobby for them. It's like, this is someone who I am hiring to serve and support me. What has that felt like for you, learning the business side of doula work, and how have you implemented that in the work you're doing?
Yeah, I think that starts for me with not overextending myself and spreading myself too thin. So that's why I set that early on boundary of just doing 2 clients per month. Also with having 2 kids at home, like that's really all that's sustainable for me right now. But I have loved that number. At first I thought it was going to be too little. But I have been able to support moms, for 4 days of prodromal labor before, and just, I wouldn't have been able to do things like that if I had too many people. And I also think back to the whole how do you price yourself and all of that. I think it's intimidating to charge money as a new doula, but it's actually doing seasoned doulas kind of a disservice if you undervalue yourself, because it's kind of undercutting their businesses. So I think it's actually really important in a way that you can support doulas in your area by charging a fair amount of money. And it's really easy to look up what that is for your area. And for DFW, I just made my pricings based on what is normal for this area. So I think that is really, really important and something that feels scary to do, especially when you're starting out. But honoring this space looks like honoring all the doulas around you, as well as respecting yourself enough to see your worth.
That's so true. I could not have put it better. I love that. And we've had so many conversations too, even in some of the calls in the Doula Mastermind about, me challenging women like, hey, you might want to consider raising your rates. And they were like, it's this scary thing. Like, am I worth it? Do I provide enough value? And that confidence grows. And you sometimes need a group of women, a community who are cheering you on, who are saying like, no, you're worth this. You're worth, holding that energy and that confidence in how you present your prices and how you share your contract and how you manage and market and find clients. Like, these are all things that I was not taught in my doula training. When I took a 3-day doula training like 12 years ago, becoming a doula, they didn't cover anything on the business side. It took me years of
Mm.
figuring that out later. And I was charging at the beginning. I told you guys this and I was so embarrassed. I'm going to share it. And I can't believe I'm sharing it. I was like, my first birth, I think the first couple births, I was charging $150. And
Yeah, that's
some of
wild.
those births were like over 24 hours long. Like, when I did the math, I was like, I made $5.37 an hour or something ridiculously low. And I look back at that now and I'm like, oh my gosh, Karen, that's ridiculous. And so
Yeah, and when
now,
you're doing all those counter pressure, that really adds up
like,
for your
legit,
biceps.
like, that is worth way more. And
That's
I've had
funny.
amazing clients, but I'm like, I need to charge more. So like, you don't have to go
Yeah.
through all of those pitfalls as a new doula and learn the hard way. Like, you can learn the easy way in a group of other doulas, learning from, I've been doing this going on 13 years now. And the lessons I've learned have taken me years. And I'm like, how can I condense this, like over a decade of doula experience, into a mastermind over 14 weeks so that they get the best head start and they don't have to take 12 programs and trainings and to figure it out on their own. And we have so many tools
Yeah,
now.
no, it's
Like
amazing.
there's AI and there's like all this support around us to make our job easier. So that's my goal, is to really like empower. And at the end of the day, I want doulas, like just like you, to feel confident to support women, not wondering, am I doing this right? Or can I really charge this much? Like this is such a valuable service. And you're just like the most perfect example of a doula who like went for it. Like you didn't have to have it all
Oh,
figured
thank
out.
you.
You were just like,
No, not even close.
and it's not about getting it right and getting it perfect. It's
Yeah.
like that, like we are here to serve women. And I think you truly put the women first. And that's what makes you a good doula. At the end of the day, is you're putting your clients first
Thank you.
and
Thank you so
still
much.
valuing yourself in the process. And you can do both.
You totally can, if you're not spread too thin.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. What's the number one piece of advice you have for moms that are about to have a baby?
So my advice to moms would be, know your options. Just find as many resources that speak to you as you can. Find some books if you're a reader. If you're not a reader, find some podcasts like this one. There's so many out there, and it's really helpful to hear other birth stories that are similar to what you're hoping for. So that is something that I have focused on now that this is my third baby. And then also finding a really great childbirth education course is very helpful. So Karen has the pain-free birth course. We got to go through it in the Doula Mastermind, and I'm really excited to go through it again as a mom this time. And I think once you're able to understand the physiology behind birth, the way that God designed it, it takes so much of the fear and anxiety and things that you've heard from people that are not your story. It takes all of that out of it, and you're able to go into birth with a clean slate. That is what's going to help you have a powerful and different birth experience than the normal. And I think that's my number one tip for moms is to do your research, release the things that are not yours, and find a team around you, a provider around you, a birth space around you, and hopefully a doula around you that really aligns with your values and what you're hoping for your birth. Something else I wanted to add is that there's never a perfect time to bet on yourself. There's always a reason not to. So you might be one of those people that's saying, oh, maybe someday, but like really think long and hard about if right now is the right time for you, because it might not feel like it. It didn't necessarily feel like it was for me, but there is never a perfect time to bet on yourself. And sometimes you just got to take that leap and go for it, because doors are going to be opened for you. And if this is the space you're meant to be in, all of that will fall into place. So it was just a real opportunity for me to trust God's plan, and knowing that, there was women who really needed support in my area who probably wouldn't have some of my clients were people who were not really considering a doula before. And so it just feels like this happened at the right place at the right time, And so if you're one of those people, just do it and sign up.
Get the skills, because you never know. You're right. You never know what doors God will open and what women are waiting for you that need your support now. Like, stop putting it off, because women are looking for you, looking for your support.
Another thing I wanted to add was a reason why I chose your course, Karen, was because I didn't want to choose a doula program that was sponsored by a hospital. I didn't want to learn how to help moms fit in some mold. I really wanted to learn how to be a doula that encourages moms to think independently and be able to create the space that they need, which doesn't have to fit in any mold.
Yeah, and so a lot of doula programs out there are very tailored to catering to hospitals or insurance. And I really believe that doulas are meant to be autonomous and serve the mom first and foremost, not bend their knee and bow to the hospital conglomerate or what insurance regulations dictate or doctors, and even overcoming that people pleasing that need to be good and please even doctors in a setting like that is something we talk about. Like, it's truly about taking back our power as women. And if we can't even do that as doulas, how will we expect the moms we serve to feel confident to do that for themselves? And if you're looking for a doula, we are about to release our pain-free birth directory, where we have all the doulas certifying with pain-free birth will be listed on this directory. I'm so excited about this project. And we'll be opening doors too if anyone wants to be a member and participate in some of, like, we'll be having red tent calls. I shared about that on a previous podcast. To have your name in the directory as a birth worker, there'll be opportunities for that coming up for those of you listening. They're like, hey, I would love to be a part of this community that is faith-based, that honors the woman's rite of passage, that doesn't censor the language I use, that doesn't make me call my clients, birthing people or chest feeding, all of that. The regulations now that literally the other doula organizations make you sign like a language waiver and all this craziness. Like, I don't police my doulas. I don't police the language they use, the clients they choose to serve, where they choose to give to serve their women. And we're not afraid to honor God in the process and truly give him the glory. And so that's what makes this mastermind different. And I am so honored by the people that I've attracted, people like you, Kendall, who've come in, who are so incredibly heart-centered, powerful advocates for the moms they serve, and giving back to families, truly like giving them your all, like you said, and serve with your heart. And that's been the joy of my heart, is to see women released and empowered, given the permission to really go after their calling and serve women. Because it's not my goal to just replicate myself. I want to give women permission to support and serve other women in this remarkable life experience called birth and motherhood. And this transition deserves the honor and respect that it doesn't often get in our society. And doulas are the gatekeepers for that. They're the ones holding that torch. They're the ones protecting that space. And if you're listening to this episode and you feel called to be a doula, to learn the skills, not just the doula skills, the pain-free birth method, the breath work, the techniques, all so many of the things Kendall mentioned and more, and really learning how to open a woman's heart, even in prenatals, to establish that trust, to be able to have the hard conversations and uncover her deepest fears and desires, and the business skills to go along with it so that you can create a sustainable business that serves you and your clients. Because a well-supported doula is a powerful doula. And if that's something that you are desiring or have any nudge for, please click the link in the show notes. We've got information there for you to check out, because the next cohort the doors are opening September 2nd for the wait list. Make sure your name is on that wait list. And we're having an early bird special for 2 days. You can get it at a discount, and then doors open to the public on the 4th. The first call is September 14th. All those dates we'll put in the show notes for you. You don't have to remember them. Just make sure you get your butt in the door if you want to be in this room, because we only do this once or twice a year. And we are limiting it to 50 people. I would love to have you in this group if this is ringing in your heart and this aligns with you. I only want sold out women in this group. I don't want people who are like, well, maybe someday. No, like, if you want to support women, this is for you. And we invite you to be part of this group. And Kendall, I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom. Even as a new doula, you have so much wisdom and experience. And that's really the root of empowering women in birth, is you're in charge. You're the boss. And that's what I tell all my women. And that's what I tell my doulas. Like, we get to design the life we want. We get to design the birth we want. We get to set ourselves up for success and surround ourselves with support. And you're worth it. You're worth getting that support. You're worth investing in yourself as mothers, as doulas, as women. You're worth it. So I think that's a beautiful place to end it. Thank you, Kendall, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you guys next week.